Power outages happen all the time for numerous reasons, but in this video I'm going to give you a few tips on what you can do to prepare for the next power outage or blackout in your area. So Urban Sentinel, let's get into it. Power outages can happen for numerous reasons. It could be a storm, hurricane, tornado, it could be wildfires, it could be down trees across a power line, it could be a motor vehicle smashing into a power pole. But in any case, it's never fun and it's always an inconvenience. And a lot of power outages, blackouts, fall into three primary categories. There is the immediate local, which is effectively, it's affecting your house, your residence, and the immediate street that you're on, and it might spread out a few blocks. Then you have a city-wide or area-wide, where it might be a whole section of your city or town, or adjacent neighboring towns, depending upon how they're connected to the grid. And then there is the widespread. That's where it's going through large areas of a state into multiple states, perhaps a cascading failure of shared power transformers along a certain set of power lines, that when one fails, the next one gets tripped and the next one gets tripped, to prevent a further cascading failure, but nonetheless the power is shut off for a period of time. With that being said, that varies the level of preparedness that you need to have and be ready for, depending upon that situation. Alright, so power goes out, you're going to need some basic things. Now, I'm going to start with the good old-fashioned, tried and true candles, matches, lighters. People have used them for decades, centuries, to illuminate an area in the dark. And they do have their place. They even have these long-lasting 100-hour candles. The primary thing you have to think about with candles with flames of any type is they are a fire hazard, no matter how careful you are, but even more so if you have pets, small children. Open flames cause problems. And the two things you have to be concerned about in that type of situation is an open flame igniting your residence that you're in, or worse, as it goes along, an open flame is your competitor. It's directly competing against you to take up all the oxygen in the room. Whether you're working, sleeping, going through inventory, it's sucking up that oxygen, and sooner or later, one of you is going to lose. So they do have their place, but there are other alternatives, which of course brings us to the good old-fashioned flashlights. You should always have at least one hand lamp, depending upon the size of it is, and perhaps a headlamp as well to wear to give you hands-free movement. If you need to fix or repair things, you can wear that right on your head and be able to illuminate everything that you need around you. If you've got one that has multiple light intensities and also multiple settings, that can be a benefit as well. This is an old camp lantern. It is actually powered by a built-in hand crank. So you'd crank that for several minutes, and then you'd have a selector switch. And you can even see it gets a little bit brighter, makes it easier to see, something you might be able to keep on top of your kitchen table to illuminate the area around you. Glow sticks, definitely useful. Although once you snap it and shake it, there is no turning it off, so it's going to run until the chemical components are done. So you have to use this in consideration for what you need to do. I'm going to give you two little secret tips in relation to the glow stick, but not specifically the actual chemicals inside. Get yourself some index cards and some glow-in-the-dark paint, some day glow paint. What you want to do is simply brush on a light coating on the plain side of the index card with the day glow paint. After it dries, use clear packing tape, wrap it up. Now you have an illumination pad. Leave that out in a window with sunlight. Then when it is dark, you can place that in certain areas, even with a little bit of scotch tape to hold it up. You might have it by a set of stairs, maybe one at the top of the steps so you have an idea of where the stairs are, one down towards the bottom. If you've got small kids who need a night light, something like that, instead of having them be in possession of a flashlight that they're going to drain the battery down unnecessarily, you could do something like that. Even take a black magic marker, draw a little happy smiley face on it, something like that, because the kids will be transfixed on that, they'll fall asleep, and you don't lose battery power with them having a flashlight. And it makes it easy enough to mark an area in a room so there's some sort of level of illumination that your eyes can adjust to and adapt to, and it gives a psychological comfort. The other thing that you may also want to consider is it's a solar powered yard light, an outdoor light with a photo motion sensor on it. So something like this, where you'd have the solar panels, put them out in the window, let them get charged up, and then you've got the motion sensor. But you place something like this in, let's say, your bathroom, where you've got a utility closet, or maybe you've got some supplies in a room that it's hard to see in because it doesn't have any windows and the power again is out and you don't know where everything is. Now when you walk in, it detects the motion, or when you open a door or anything like that, it'll come on, provide enough illumination. Like I said, if you're in a bathroom or something like that, and it shuts itself off if it doesn't detect motion after about 2 minutes or so. So this way it allows you to illuminate areas only as needed. And because it's portable, if you want to get creative, you could put Velcro on the back or some type of sticky pad on the back and adhere it to a door or something like that, depending upon your situation. Now, some of the other things that you want to take into consideration: ways of cooking. Now, this is just a small portable fold-up stove that uses a sterno canister to heat it. Something that you might take if you're camping, but depending upon what you use to heat food in your home, microwave, electric oven, that sort of thing, this could be an alternative, especially if you're in an apartment where you don't have a grill, gas, charcoal, or otherwise, or no other means to heat things up. And it's not specifically to say that this is the only way that you can prepare food, but it gives you an option, and that's the key thing. Now, when it comes to finding out what's going on, communication is definitely key. Now, these are two short-range handheld radios. Obviously, you have one, and someone either within your group, your family, or someone that you know has another one. You get a limited range, 1 to 2 miles, depending upon the environment that's around you, but maybe enough that, especially if cell phone towers are down, you'll still be able to at least keep in contact with someone. A pair of binoculars. They don't have to be super fancy. They don't have to be these jumbo huge things where you can see on, out to the planets and everything, but just a decent pair of binoculars, that way you can take a look around your neighborhood and see what's going on. Maybe there is something, maybe there's a fire or there was a building issue, whatever it is. It gives you the advantage of taking a look and seeing what's out there without getting too close. And the primary reason I say that is, in a short power outage where a lot of people know that, oh, the power's just out in this one neighborhood, the utility companies are going to have it taken care of in 3 to 4 hours, that's the way it goes. But when we're talking citywide or regional-wide power outages, where either people know that it's going to be several days before the power gets up, it might be because of a snowstorm or a hurricane, or it could be because someone blew up the substation that powers everything around for 20, 30 miles, whatever the case may be, there's going to reach that balance point where the individuals, we'll call them criminals, decide that there's no power, there's no lighting, there's no anything going on. There's also not going to be a lot of 911 calls making it through and getting police out to where they are. So they may decide to just live the life that they've been living, and regardless of what the societal norms are, they're going to become the new problem in the night. But you won't know that stuff unless you have some way of getting information in. Now, these are two hand crank radios. It has, in this particular one, rechargeable battery in the back. It's an AM/FM radio. It picks up the weather channel, and cranking that knob powers it up, and you can pick up normal AM/FM signals without a problem. This also, same thing. It's basically the newer version of it. The one advantage that it does have is it has this small solar panel, and it has a flashlight built into it, integrated into it, but it's still the same function. Crank it up, charge it up, tune into the station that you're listening to, get the information that you need. Because that's the key thing, is as long as you can figure out what's going on, that helps alleviate a lot of the stress that you'll have during the blackout. Now, of course, these all require power, so you need alternate ways to power things. This is one of my older power banks. It's actually a solar power bank, so something like this, you can charge it up on the grid, meaning plug it into a normal USB plug and connector to a power outlet, charge it up that way, or leave it in the sun and charge up, and then you can power your cell phones and things like that. I also recently just got this new power bank, and I've used this a couple times testing it out. This one is actually good enough that it provides 15,000 milliamp hours worth of power, so my cell phone and even my Chromebook were able to stay charged, and I was able to use this for quite a while. But you need to have a couple of ways of charging up batteries. This is an older one, but I know that you can find them on Amazon. This is actually a solar power battery charger. So it would be able to hold on the inside C batteries, AA and AAA, and then leaving out in the sun, charging up that way. And it came with a multi-plug connector that I could also plug into several devices if I needed to charge those up as well. And of course batteries, power cables. I always want to make sure that you have enough cables to basically hook everything up the way that you need to. Batteries, this is a less organized form, but you want to make sure that for the devices that use them, and that's the key thing that you also want to take into account. Some items, single-use batteries work the best in them. Others, rechargeable batteries are the way to go depending upon what it is. I found personally that some of my EDC flashlights, they just simply do better when I use single-use batteries. So this way, when the light flickers and it's getting lower, I just replace the battery rather than the rechargeable battery, which when you're not actively using it, it still loses energy when it's not being used faster than the non-rechargeable do. So there's been cases where I've put rechargeable batteries in, haven't actually used the flashlight, so I'm not aware of its status, and then when I go to use it, the lighting's a little bit dimmer or it flickers on and off or it's just not functioning. So I switch those over to the single use. This way it maintains its power almost all the way through until it gets to that point where it is just so old that it's not going to be able to use anymore. But you take that into consideration for the different devices you have, how many batteries do they use, what are you using it for, how often, so you have an idea. You always want to make sure that you've got extras on standby just in case. And of course, first aid. You can keep it simple and get those pre-made first aid kits that provide you with basic bandages, gauze, some alcohol wipes, things like that, all in a nice little container. Or you start assembling your own where you also want to include any type of additional therapeutics, acetaminophen, ibuprofen, cold and cough medicine. If you have prescription medicines that you can keep basically room temperature, it's nothing that needs to be refrigerated, and you have that on hand, do that as well for yourself or anyone else that's within your group. Now, also, again, you don't have to get necessarily everything in the amounts. You may decide to cater and tool at least some type of multi-tool to have with you that can not just simply be used on these devices, but in general for opening up things, cutting things open, repairing things, depending upon your situation and your skill. Now we also get into, which it's not a heavy thing, you get into water. You want to have some water on hand, even more than just food, for the sake of staying healthy, and I will tell you the reason why. The water isn't as much for you and for drinking. What you want to be able to do is have a couple of heavy-duty garbage bags and some storage bags, and even some of those insulated shopping bags that you can zipper up. And this is the reason why. If, let's say, the situation is a tropical storm, 1,000 miles out, 3 days away, turns into a Category 3 2 days away, then turns into a Cat 5 1 day away, and it's going to make landfall in your area, you've gotten plenty of time. So what you can do is you can take small bottles of water like these, increase the cold in your freezer and refrigerator, put these into your freezer, 6 of them, 8 of them, whatever the case may be. Even take some of these Ziploc type storage bags, fill them about halfway up with water, and then lay them flat in your freezer so they're in there for the next 24 hours before the storm hits. Now you have ice packs, because what you can do in this particular situation, this is a 48-quart cooler. I can take all of this stuff out. I can keep it into some type of other bag if I needed to, but now I can take these newly frozen bottles of water and ice packs, throw them into the cooler, and then any of my perishable food that I really know that I'm, one, going to eat, and two, isn't going to make it if the power does go off, especially if I don't have a long-term solution to keep the refrigerator running, I can take that food and put it in there. The general estimate guides for most refrigerators, if they're well maintained, the power goes out, the stuff in the freezer is safe for about 48 hours, but the stuff in the fridge, after about 4 hours, the heat from that compressor, which is usually located at the bottom, starts heating everything up, and because there's no active cool air circulating, all the food starts to get a little bit warmer. Now, some food, it's not going to be a problem, and we've all had experiences. You use your own judgment based upon what your food was, how long it was in there before the power went out, all that sort of thing, just common sense. But a lot of it at a certain point is going to become questionable, especially if you don't have a way to properly cook or treat the food, whatever the case may be. So something like this with the ice packs that you've made, and if you make a quick last minute run to a convenience store to get 1 or 2 more bags of ice and have those ready, that can help out. I would almost suggest what you would load up is snack foods, the things that you can eat quickly, that don't need a lot of preparation, and you can keep them in there and it's not going to be a problem. This way you don't even have to open that up to wonder what's inside. You know exactly what's in there. You'll have 2-3 days of things to snack on, whether it's some fruits, some deli meats that you want to finish up, whatever the case may be. And then whatever stays in the refrigerator, if you get power up and running before it gets to be a little too questionable, then you're good to go. You're not trying to load everything from your refrigerator into the cooler. You're taking the most critical and important stuff, the things that you need to eat right away, the things that are most likely going to go bad if you don't eat them, even if they stay in the refrigerator. And then that limits the need for you to even open the refrigerator or open the freezer up at all. So in taking a lot of the food, you might put it into plastic bags and then drop it in here with some ice, close the bag up and then put it into the cooler, and then you've got other ice packs inside the cooler that you then load up the other food that you want. You figure it out on your own. But that's the primary thing. You want to make your kit customizable for you and your needs. If you're a single person by yourself, you may decide to change this up. Now, this cooler by itself isn't portable to carry. You can pick it up, it's got the handles, but you're not going to be hiking and walking with that. This would be something that if you needed to, you could load it up, throw it into your vehicle, and off you go. You may decide that if you have to leave, you want to travel as light as possible. So you arrange the different items that you have. Some things that I showed you, you may not need. Other things you may say, I'll need 2 or 3 of those, but I'll leave the other larger stuff behind. So you want to have a bag that you can split off those different things. You work it out the way that it's going to work best for you. And even as I mentioned before, if you've got small kids, if you've got pets, if you're taking care of your elderly parents or grandparents, you take into account their level of mobility and their capability, makes that determination on if you're staying with them, if they're staying with you, if it's a long-term situation, how you're going to handle transporting them. Numerous different things that you need to take into account, but this emergency blackout kit is to get you started. It covers the basics and gives you an idea of what you need to do. You might be on the 5th floor of an apartment building, top floor dry roasting in the sun because the building doesn't have AC and you just got window fans. You might be in your own home or in a duplex. The situations change significantly depending upon the type of structure you're in and where that is. Someplace out in the suburbs or the rural area versus someplace in downtown of a population of 50, 75,000, 250,000 plus people changes that aspect and that dynamic on how long that power could be out depending upon what the cause was and the significant damage that occurred and how it's going to affect you as well as everyone else around. So think about your needs, make a plan, look at some of the items that I showed you in the video and decide on how you're going to work it. And again, this is something that you can build upon. You can make multiple kits if you needed to. Perhaps you want to have one already set to go if you've got a vehicle, and then you make another one that if you're going to stay at a different physical location that you might have something larger to bring with you. You work out the plans, see what does the best for you, and you can always add to it. There's never any harm, any foul in adding more or rearranging things and shifting the type of items that you use and the reasons that you have them set up the way that you do. So like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll catch you in the next one.